valuable to us, and he's an incredible guy. I'm glad he's here. Six Sigma. We use the Six Sigma, the black belt, the lean to do all kinds of reduced backlogs. This is in the area of, we don't talk about this, just making things work better. Joe, how many Board of Tax Appeals? How many cases did we have on backlog?
In the tax department, was 17,500 cases.
And what are we down to now?
About 3,800.
Okay, so it's a pretty significant improvement. He did it in about 6 months. And Lean and Six Sigma are private sector operations that are designed to produce a better product at a lower price. We are doing this all over the state government. Colonel, do you want to say something, Colonel Charles, about the reduction and how it's affect the crime lab?
Well, in the crime lab, we had a backup that was, we were losing cases, and with the aggressive drug interdiction, we couldn't process the drugs in the crime lab. We did Lean, Ohio, and we reduced that down to within 40 days, and we were able to produce more results, get more cases into court, not lose cases. It helps the troopers
well, it makes them feel like they're doing their job. And we're going to hear from the Colonel a little bit more in terms of morale of the patrol and the war on drugs, which is an epidemic in this state, and across our great country. We're going to be doing, and what you might say, why don't you do Six Sigma? Why didn't somebody ever do that before? Well, because when people get introduced to it, they cry. Because we start telling people to do things differently. It's like when I was a paper boy. I used to like to throw it on the driveway. They made me put it in the door. I cried. Okay? This is not easy to get people to change the way they have done things for 25 years without having them threatened. And it's difficult. But we're getting it done, and we're building more black belts all throughout the state of Ohio so we can do what the taxpayers want. Invest Ohio, the 10% tax credit for people who hold an investment in Ohio small business for 2 years. Last time I checked, within the first week, we've generated about $250 million, $250 million in new investment in small business. If banks will not lend, you can't do anything. So Invest Ohio was designed to say to people that if you will invest in small business, we will reduce overall the tax liability you owe to the state of Ohio, which helps them and which really helps our small businesses to get the capital they need to invest in plant, equipment, and more important, people. Jobs-friendly climate. Income taxes are down under 6%. Too high? We need to work on it. We eliminated the death tax, so people don't have to sell the farms. They don't have to sell their small business in order to where they won't have to visit both the undertaker and the tax guy on the same day. We've cut regulation. That list goes on and on. Mark, I think, will say a little bit about Menards, the decision that was made there, the ability of GE to move 5 engines over the 4th of July. This is a big deal. When you tell companies that we're not going to over-regulate you, they like it. But that doesn't mean no regulation. Let me be clear, because our regulation on shale gas, which we will talk about, is going to be extremely strong. But you don't over-regulate and not use common sense when it comes to carrying out what you need to do. And one of the great champions, well, we haven't even said anything about him, is Scott Nally. He's like the poster boy of the administration. Everybody loves Scott Nally. Scott is the only EPA guy who I know who environmentalists like and business people like. It's like he's a Houdini. You want to have a word about that, Scott, the way you approach things?
Sure.
Scott Nally runs the EPA.
Thank you, Governor. It comes down to being predictable. Businesses want predictable, and environmentalists want predictable. They want regulation that's clear, and they want to be able to understand it so that they can meet the bar. So what we've been trying to do is change a lot of that, whether it's through rulemaking or an omnibus bill that's getting ready to be teed up, and also through a lot of our internal policies, so we can provide clear guidance to business so that they clearly understand what they need to achieve. And that's how we're getting there. Thank you, sir.
Patriot Water, done yet?
Patriot Water is going to take a little while because we're in court. Once we get that out of the way, we'll sit down.
Clean it up, folks. Clean it up, or you're not going to be in business. Just that simple. But not on some, theory out here, but on reality. Education. Quadrupled vouchers. We have one of the most robust voucher programs in the country. If your child is in a non-performing school, underperforming school, you get a chance to put your kids in a school where you believe they can do better. If you have not seen the movie Waiting for Superman, if you have a heart, be alone when you watch it, because you will be reduced to tears. I can't even watch the darn movie anymore. It's just so emotional about mothers, particularly single mothers who are African Americans, and the nightmare they go through trying to give their kids a chance. We also have taken the lid off of charter schools, and let me be clear, we don't want to over-scrutinize charter schools, but we're certainly not going to under-scrutinize them. That is not an answer if they are not providing the kind of education that we want. And our idea of vouchers and charter schools is not to undermine public education. It's designed to provide better competition, a little bit more choice, which improves the product and enforces the kind of change that we need, not just in Ohio, but all over the country. And I'm thrilled that Michael Colbert worked so hard and the whole staff worked so hard to get that significant early childhood education grant. Ohio ranked 5th in the country. We'll have about, I guess, $70 million to be able to work on this early childhood education. And I was thrilled to read in the Plain Dealer about the fact that Teach for America now is going to be funded. That was knocked out of this state, and within, what was it, 2 months, we got Teach for America in Ohio, and it's going to be a great thing. Stan Hefner is the superintendent of schools. He is a Democrat. He has traveled the state talking about the fact that the excellence we have is in meeting minimum standards. He's been out with his building-by-building comparisons so mothers and fathers can get a real sense of how their children are doing. It's not a biased, trumped-up deal. It's really, this is how this school's doing compared to the school next to them. And finally, and I hope you will write this, 41% of our high school graduates are not prepared to enter college without significant remediation. 41% of our graduating seniors must be remediated the first year they enter college. And this is something we're going to be focusing on significantly, but Stan's job is to basically let parents know that we can do better. Teacher evaluation, I'm proud of the work that Sarah Dove has done and Bob Summers in terms of asking teachers how they would like to be evaluated. And frankly, the race to the top, I'm in some ways embarrassed to say, is farther ahead of us on teacher evaluation and merit pay than we are. And it's just a shame that only half of our schools have adopted it, but Stan's making an effort to make sure that we can build a team. Stan, anything you want to say about your work? I said, Stan, this is your chance to make a difference in K through 12.
Well, thank you, Governor. As you know, education is not about Democrats or Republicans. It's about our children. It's about our future. It's about making sure that we have high expectations so that all children, regardless of where they go to school or who is their teacher, receive nothing but the highest quality of education that works best for their learning style and for their situation. And we will not stop until Ohio is #1 in the nation in education.